A very good afternoon on day 3 of Campus Ready program sponsored by Barclays in collaboration with Up to Skills and Global Talent Track. Once again, I, Pragya Satakshi, a student of BCA second semester, welcome everyone connecting with us. Results happen over time, not overnight. Work hard, stay consistent, and be patient with these philosophies and commitment. Our college has always tried its best to provide a good quality of platform for all the students to nurture, groom, and give their best. We are truly thankful to our visionary chairman, Sir Dr. R.K. Tandon, under whose leadership and vision Trinity is flourishing. I would also like to thank our versatile director, ma'am, Professor Dr. Barkha Behel, for always encouraging and emphasizing on quality of education. I'm grateful to our brilliant HOD ma'am, Dr. Mukta Sharma, for always encouraging us and providing us the platform to excel. I, on behalf of entire Trinity fraternity, once again would like to welcome our esteemed speaker of the day, Mr. Gaurang Satum, with a bunch of lavender. Sir, it would have been a pleasure if we could hand it over to you in the physical mode, but nevertheless, sir, I hope I have pronounced your name correctly. Would you mind correcting me if I'm wrong?
No, that's fine, Pragya. That's absolutely okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, before I move ahead, let me cite a Japanese proverb. Better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher. Thank you, sir, on behalf of me and all my fellow peers. We are fortunate enough to spend 5 days session with you. The method you chose to make us explore and learn difficult concepts like time management, prioritizing the things must have, could have, and can have for our resume was really a fun. The quizzes made the session even more interesting. The way you handled our queries patiently and interacted with our enthusiastic audience is really appreciable. I'm sure we all will remember these learnings for a lifetime. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and presence. I would request you to kindly illuminate us with your valuable words. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Pragya, and good to hear your voice again. I heard your voice in day 1, and I think it's day 3, so good to hear your voice. Okay, great. So nobody's sharing the screen. Let me quickly display the banner as well. So again, warm welcome all of you. Great to have you guys on board. We are on day 3. I think day 1 and day 2 we've had really productive discussions. Day 3 is no different. We are definitely going to dive into the pool of interview skills. We are going to do a little bit of storytelling. I'm sure Robin is going to stick around in the entire session because he loves storytelling. I'm right, Robin. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, I'm not sure if Robin has joined in. Fair enough. So thank you once again. I think the only reason why these trainings have been successful is because we've had a lovely crowd. And yeah, Robin is here. Okay, hey, hi, Robin. So there are a few bunch of activities. Okay, I've been muted. Okay, am I audible to you guys now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. So to begin with, we will start with a little brain teaser. There's something that you see on the screen. Take a minute to think, and it'll be great to hear your responses. You can post your responses in the chat box, or if you choose to unmute and speak, nothing like that. So Romeo and Juliet, they were found dead on the floor in a bedroom where they were discovered dead, and there were pieces of glass and some water on the floor. The only furniture in the room is a shelf and a bed. The house is in a remote location away from everything except for the nearby railway track. What caused the death of Romeo and Juliet? Come on. Uh, just a little icebreaker to start the session. Use your own creative imagination. Let that Sherlock Holmes come out of you. Okay, I am not able to see. Okay, fair enough. Yes. So, any responses to this? What caused the death of? Okay, Harshita says water was poisoned. Okay, fair enough. Yes, yes, Pragya.
Sir, I was going to say the same.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Water was poisoned. Any different observation than this? So I'll give you the answer to this riddle. It's very easy. So usually we are so conditioned to believe that Romeo and Juliet can only be humans, right? So here in this scenario, Romeo and Juliet are fish, and okay, Rachna says they wanted to be together till eternity, and people were finding them, so they poisoned themselves. Okay, fair enough. So Romeo and Juliet here, they are fish in a fish bowl, and apparently due to the turbulence of the railway track, the fishbowl fell down, and that's how they were found dead. They were discovered dead. So perception matters, right? Sometimes we tend to perceive people. I mean, people as fish and fish as people. So that's the learning of this particular exercise. Okay, to begin with, we will be starting off with a little exercise on Padlet. I will let you guys know what Padlet is. I will quickly share my screen. Just a minute, please. All right. So I'll be sharing a link with you guys in the chat box. I would want you to go on that specific link. There is a question that is asked to you. I would want you to pick up the response of that question. I'll show you how the screen looks like. So once you click on that specific link, this is how the screen will be displayed. Harsh, can you go on mute, please? Guys, please stay on mute. Okay, so I have shared my Padlet link with you guys. Click on that link, join this page. There is a plus option that you see below. Click on that plus option. Put your name in the title and try to write down or list down what elements do you think should be updated in your self introduction. So, okay, I see people writing their names. I hope those names are visible on the screen. Okay, great. So, guys, I would want you to start writing what elements would you include in your self introduction. Okay, I'll tell you what needs to be included a little later. First, I would like to know from you. I'll put my name as well. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I see few people joined in. Wonderful. I want majority of us joining there. Okay. There's somebody who's anonymous who's you can also edit. Say, for example, if you have typed in your name incorrectly, there's an option that you see here, edit. You can edit your option. Right. So if in case you feel you've not typed in the right response, okay, I'll just keep updating it so that okay guys, so whoever has entered inside this particular Padlet, I'd want you to add a comment, post a comment in the chat box, in this particular chat box that you see. It will get updated automatically. Okay, Rachna says our introduction, okay, 1 minute please. Our introduction must include what we really are as a person. Okay, fair enough. Harshita says name, age, interest, and strengths. Okay. Come on, guys. Whoever has updated their names, I'd like you to also post your responses in the chat box, in the comment section, so that I know what you're typing. Okay, there's somebody who's anonymous, can't really identify the name of the person. Says name, a short description about yourself, your qualifications, your experience, and your strengths. Okay, okay, yeah. Experience, skills, family background, hobbies, and interests. Fair enough. Okay. Somebody says name, age, interest, qualifications. Fair enough. Kanishk says our strengths. Fair enough. Just want to quickly check if you are able to see the Padlet. I hope you are able to see what people are responding here. Can somebody confirm, please, if the screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Screen is visible, sir.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. So these are your responses. Is somebody anonymous? Please go ahead, change your name. Achievement, skills, interest. Okay. Robin says elements in my self-introduction include name, education, and qualification, any professional and soft skills, your hobbies, your interests, your recent things you're learning. Fair enough. All right. I like this response. Bhuvi says name, age, occupation, and a few things about yourself. What do you wish to be in your future? Okay, that's an interesting one. Garima says name, age, qualification, or interests. Okay, wonderful. All right, so I am pretty much able to see Vivek says names, strengths, qualifications, achievements, technical skills, and future goals. Okay. Okay, Daman has put in name, age, interest, a brief of what you are and what you're looking for. Okay, fair enough. All right. So great. I'm going to record these conversations so that I can always refer in future if at all I want to include anything of these kind. Wonderful. Is there something different that anybody has mentioned that I missed out? All right, fair enough. Great observations. And these are your responses. Okay, someone says name, age, qualifications, strengths, achievements, and goals. Okay, basic intro, and then what you want to do in future and what you do for nature, because nature is precious. All right, fair enough. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so the reason why I asked this question is I'd want you to explore self-introduction. And the problem with self-introduction is that almost every day, the recruiter or your HR interviewer might take hundreds of interviews, right? So how would your introduction be a little different than what you usually give, right? So to start with, I'd want to ask a simple question, okay? The first day when we had a session, we discussed about the rabbit and the tortoise story. Would somebody want to narrate that to me? In short, the rabbit and the tortoise story. What is that story about? I'm sure most of you all, when that question was asked, most of you all raised your hand and you said, yes, you have heard that story. And that was in junior KG, and we still remember with the moral, right? So, can somebody help me recall? Pragya, do you want to give a try?
Sure, sir. So there was a race between the tortoise and the rabbit. Rabbit was going faster than the tortoise, and at a point of time when he saw that tortoise is not visible, that means he's far back. So he thought to have a rest, and while having the rest, he slept, and meanwhile, tortoise won the race.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for explaining such a beautiful concept to me, Pragya. Pragya just explained us the three C's of storytelling, which is context, conflict, and conclusion, right? She started off by saying the rabbit and the tortoise decide to have a race, right? She didn't say that the rabbit slept off first. She said the rabbit and the tortoise decided to have a race. That is the context. The conflict was the fact that the lazy rabbit took some rest and the tortoise won the race. Look at the synchronization and the format that was used, right? Ujjwala has also posted the story in the chat box, a much more matured version that I'll read that a little later, Ujjwala. I'm just going to copy that in my text box. Wonderful. So why are we looking at the three C's? So these three C's are nothing but the C's of storytelling, right? Now, why is it important that we need to tell a story when we are self-introducing ourselves? Understand one thing, every person has spent around 20, 21, 22, whatever your age is in your life. Each one of us has experienced something in your life which is memorable or something which you can remember for lifetime. Now, usually when we talk about self-introduction, we always restrict ourselves in, hi, my name is this, I have done this, I have done that, right? But what if you present that same information in the form of a story? right? And if those these three C's are not present in your self introduction, it's very difficult for the interviewer to keep his attention span or her attention span longer in your introduction. Because understand the psychology of the interviewer. He's interviewing more than 50 candidates in a day, and if he tends to listen to the same story again with different names, it's very difficult, right? Just think of it. Okay, you're watching a series, right? You watched a series, you completed, and you're watching the second series now with the same storyline but different people. You know what's going to happen next. There's no excitement for the interviewer to take your interview that way, because the same story but different titles, right? So here, what we are going to learn in terms of our self introduction is the three C's, right? I'm sure you must have not heard this before, and you might be wondering, sir, kya bol rahe hain? Why do we have to do all of this? Just self introduction is a self introduction, right? But let me tell you, if you want to influence people, if you'd want people to listen to what you're saying, these three things are absolutely important, and in a synchronized format. Context, that is setting the context first. Now, what are few things that we need to set in context? First is who you are, right? What is your identity? What is something that best describes you as a person? That's one reason why on the first day I told you all, make a quote for yourself, right? Find a quote that best describes you as a person, right? And the third part is, what have you achieved? Your education, your experience, your strengths. So this is the context. You're setting the context and telling the interviewer that this is who I am. This is the code that I closely relate myself to. And the reason why is because this is my education, this is my experience, and this is my strength, right? Now, the reason why I relate myself to this code comes in conflict, right? Because when you know you have achieved certain things, when you have discovered that you have certain strengths, understand it always comes from difficult times, right? There is somebody in your team who didn't listen to you when a project was given to you in your college. You took the initiative at that time. There was stress. It was a stressful time because marks were allocated for that. You took that initiative and you went ahead and gave that presentation. That's when you discovered that you have leadership power or leadership skill. So there was a conflict, right? So when we say context mein kya aata hai? Who you are, what describes you the best, and what have you achieved, right? That comes in the context. The conflict part is, what are the challenges did you face when you achieve that? Most of us, we are not ready to discuss the challenges, right? For example, you have topped the university on a specific subject, right? And that how, what is the struggle that you had, and what are the challenges that you face? Speak about those challenges openly, because out of those challenges your strengths will be described, right? You remember on the first day I told you all, right? Tangible, intangible, right? Tangible strengths are visible, intangible ones are not visible, right? So you have to prove it with an example. And you always discover your strengths in the most difficult situations. Do we agree on this? We always discover our strengths on the most difficult situations. There's something out there that has happened to us, and we've discovered that, yes, I have this particular strength. So why not communicate that to your interviewer in the form of a conflict, right? When we watch a TV show or particular movie, understand one thing, students, it always has these three elements: context, conflict, inclusion. When you watch Three Idiots movie, you closely examine the fact that the conflict came first. There was something that went wrong came first. Then the context were described. The characters were introduced, and then there was a conclusion, right? And such beautifully and nicely put movie, right? Perfect example of context, conflict, inclusion, right? So similarly, even in your introduction, try to bring conflict. When I say conflict, what are the different challenges that you faced for achieving what you have achieved so far, and have there been any downfalls? If there are no downfalls as such, it's fine, right? But if there are any, please describe that in the conflict part, right? And next is conclusion. Of course, we don't want to leave a problem with a problem, right? You want to give a solution. So what is it that you learned from what you achieved, and what did you learn from your downfalls? If you had downfalls, you can describe what did you learn from your downfalls, or you can just simply stick around what did you learn from what you achieved. Isn't that a modernized way of self introduction in the form of a story? And do you think after introducing yourself in this way, the interviewer will not pay attention to what you're saying? So gone are those modern days, gone are those olden days where people introduce themselves, say, hi, good morning, my name is XYZ, I've completed my graduation, this and that. I mean, it's fine. You can go ahead and introduce yourself in that old traditional way. I'm not saying don't. But try this method out, see if it works for you. Because as if we like stories, of course, the other person also does. And what if we are able to tell our life journey in the form of a story, and that too in self introduction? Nothing like that, right? So the first element I would always want you is try to find a quote that best describes you as a person, right? Your journey as a person, and what are few things that you have achieved. You can clearly see in brackets I have mentioned education, experience, strengths. Whatever you have, please go ahead and mention that. And on top of that, what were the challenges that you faced when you achieved certain things, right? And have there been any downfalls? That comes under conflict. And the last is conclusion. What did you learn, right? Of course, when you face challenges, you achieved something, there are a few things that you learned, right? Mention those bunch of things, right? If there were downfalls, what did you learn from those downfalls, right? Does that make sense to us? I'd appreciate you guys also pitching in and sharing your thoughts. So please go ahead, share your views. What do you think about this self introduction? Can students unmute themselves? Is it possible for the students to unmute? Do they have an option? Sorry, Pragya, I can't hear you. You're on mute. Do they have an option to unmute themselves?
I think yes, sir, they have the option.
They have. Okay, fair enough. Thanks. Uh, do you guys want to pitch in? Do you have anything to share? Please go ahead. I'll take a pause for breath to see if we are able to process this well. So the choice is ours. If you want to have the old traditional way of self-introduction, I have that for you ready. That's also there in the pipeline. If we choose to introduce ourselves in a little different and modernized way, this is how you can choose to do. And if you want to grab, yes, that's a nice question, Harshita. Harshita says, "Sir, can a self-introduction be short but still have all these three elements?" Absolutely, Harshita. Right? I'm sure you must have seen short movies as well, right? What do you think? What they do? Right, the 9 minutes 10 minutes movie that they have, they try to squeeze everything in that 9 to 10 minutes. That's exactly what you have to do. Try to squeeze this context conflict conclusion in probably 90 seconds, and I'm sure you'll be able to do it. How much time does it take for you to mention about your strengths? How much time does it take for you to mention about the achievements that you've had, right? The challenges that you've had while achieving what you did, and what are the learnings that you had from those achievements? So yeah, good question that. Yeah, thank you. So I'd also request students to go ahead, prepare a self introduction of yourself, and I'll probably give you 2 to 3 minutes. Prepare a self introduction, try to introduce yourself. Yesterday, also, when we started a session, we watched 2 videos of IIM graduates. We figured out creative ways of self introduction, and I think that's the ask of today, is for you to be able to introduce yourself creatively. So let's take 2 to 3 minutes, prepare a self introduction, and I would love to hear somebody introducing themselves using the context conflict conclusion. Are we up for it? So if you're up for it, I'm ready to wait for 3 minutes. Otherwise, we can move ahead.
Yes, sir.
So all that I'm asking you to do is putting a hands on to this, so that try it out. I'm sure in the first attempt you might not be able to completely get it, but in the second or third attempt, most likely you'll be able to figure out a way to introduce yourself better. And the best part is, when you introduce yourself, you get a feedback from me. So do we want to do a hands on? Do you want to try? If yes, I'll wait for 2 3 minutes. If no, we'll move ahead. Whatever works best for you. Harshita, I'd like to hear your voice, Harshita. I mean, it's a great thing to put your self introduction in the chat box. But yesterday we discussed, right? Also the three V's of communication, right? We said your voice is also important when you introduce yourself. So it'll be great if you unmute and also put in your response. Okay, I'm kind of not getting any response. Are we okay to spend 3 minutes preparing a self introduction, or should we move ahead? Um, okay, I see Shreya's response. Yes, yes, Robin.
Just a minute. I'm just done with the section. Just with the
Fair,
introduction, I'll share my view.
fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll wait for a minute. Let's keep it a minute.
Yeah.
Thanks for the response, Robin. Meanwhile, I'll just read Shreya. Shreya says, hello, good afternoon. Myself, Shreya Sethi. I'm from Delhi. Currently, I'm pursuing BBA from Trinity Institute of Professional Studies, Varka. Just one feedback, Shreya. First of all, thanks for the first person to introduce. One is don't use myself when you're introducing yourself, because myself is a reflexive pronoun, right? So you always say I am or my name is, because myself you use when you are doing something all by yourself. So self introduction mein myself use nahi hota hai. Also, pursuing is also wrong English. Pursuing basically means chasing or running behind. If you go to Google and check the meaning, you say graduating or completing. So just a few grammatical mistakes here and there, but yeah, thanks for that. And I would want you to keep it more lengthy, Shreya, because again, your self introduction should be minimum of 60 seconds, right? If not 90. But thanks for that. Any other student who would like to try? So we'll wait for Robin till Robin completes. Yes. Also try to include few more elements, Shreya. What have you achieved? Right. Also, I'm sure 10 to 20 seconds is not the self introduction that you'd want to give, considering 21, 22 years that you have spent on the planet. So I'm sure there's something that you've done, something that you're good at. So go ahead, mention all of that, own those strengths that you have, talk about the challenges that you had when you faced those strengths, or when you realize that those are your strengths. What have you achieved? And I think that should help. Yes. So yes, Robin, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. We discover our strength in our difficult times. A very good morning. My name is Robin Sharma. I am a student of Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, and I'm studying in Trinity Institute of Professional Studies, completing my Bachelor's of Business Administration. I have a skill set of communication skills, people skills, and writing skills. And recently, I'm working on SEO and graphology. How can I say that I have good communication skills? I have participated in various debate and speech competitions throughout my school and college life, and I also have done various anchoring in the events conducted by my college. I have good people skills because as an anchor, you have to deal with many people. So there, I learned these people skills, and I'm trying my best to write blogs and articles on Medium. So if you wish, or if you have time, please do give it a check. As far as my strengths are concerned, communication is my biggest strength. I'm very good at understanding people, and the best part about me that I love self-learning. My weaknesses are I am very self-critical. Sometimes when I'm not able to do things, I think that what is the thing which made it wrong, or how can I improve it, which made me a very self-critical person, as well as I'm not a very good team player. Because I get very cautious when I have to work on a team, because other participants, other team players may affect my performance. I learned to be myself more by learning from the things. As from being an introvert to an ambivert, it was a journey that how I can improve myself, or how can I be more myself. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Robin. One thing is congratulations for being the first person who chose to unmute and introduce. Thanks for that. Lovely self-introduction. I think very nicely placed all the three C's. Just one small feedback is if weaknesses are not asked to you, you might as well not describe them. Let the interviewer ask you those bunch of things that you need to improve. I think then you can go ahead and mention about your weakness, right? That's something that you can do, and I think wonderful, great way of talking about what are the skills that you have and how did you possess those skills. Thanks for that, and I think there's so much of learning that we can pick up from this self introduction. So one question to you, Robin: were you able to place your self introduction in the three C's that you see on the screen?
Gaurang, well, before this session, I know about these things, and I have always structured my introduction in this way only.
Wonderful.
So I was aware about it
Great.
already.
So no effort already. No effort for you then.
It was there at first because I have to think that
Yeah.
what new things I can include here, such as I have included SEO and graphology. So that's the thing which I have to think.
Wonderful. Thanks for that. Thank you, Robin. Okay, I have a question by Rachna. She says, wanted to ask that can we include our co-curricular skills in our introduction, which is not related to any technical thing. So the HR head won't like listening to all those stuff or might reject. Okay. So co-curricular. So first of all, you include everything that is a must-have in your self-introduction, Rachna. Whatever things that you have owned and you have completed, which is related to the job, you speak about that first. And if time permits, you can go ahead and talk about your co-curricular skills. Now, your HR will only take interest in listening to those things which are not related if you are able to speak on common skills. Like, for example, I said communication, call handling skills, customer service, customer handling skills. All of these are common skills. That's why we call it life skills. So if you've completed something or if you've done your graduation on a different stream and you have worked in a different stream, that's absolutely fine. Talk about few common skills. That's when people will take interest. Yeah. Harshita is asking, sir, when we talk about conflict, won't that reveal a weakness? Not really, Harshita. Now, that's what I'm saying. Conflict basically means the challenges that you faced, right? Not necessary that, see, understand one thing, Harshita. Whatever challenges you have faced so far has brought in the best or worst out of you. Correct. So when we say that I am a kind of a person in my context, when I say that I am somebody who is good at communication, there's some point in time where I figured out that I'm good in it, right? Or for example, I say I have good team management skills. There is something that made me realize that I have team management skills. That comes from the worst experience or best experience, right? So conflict basically talks about the issues or the problems that arise, and out of those problems, how did you figure out that that is your strength or your weakness, right? Specifically strength, not your weakness. So it won't reveal your weakness, don't worry. So I'll just quickly read out Vaishali. She's posted a response. She says, hello, sir. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name is Vaishali and I'm from MAU, Uttar Pradesh. Currently, I'm completing BBA from Trinity University. I belong to a joint family. My strengths are I'm optimistic, hardworking, and a disciplined person. Just one feedback, Vaishali, a little subject verb agreement error here. My strengths are, because you're describing more than one, so you should always say my strengths are that I'm an optimistic, hardworking, and a disciplined person. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for that, by the way. Anybody else who would like to unmute and give a self-introduction? More than welcome. Great opportunity for all of us, I think, to get a feedback as well for your self-introduction. And also, one more feedback is coming on the camera and self-introducing is another level of self-confidence. So it'll be great if you could also come on the camera and introduce. We'll take a minute to see if we have more people, or else we'll move ahead. And before we move ahead, I would want approximately 5 participants for the next exercise. So we're going to do a little exercise on storytelling. Since most of us are in that mode, I want 5 people to nominate themselves for the next activity. So you can use the raise hand option to notify that you're interested. You don't have to do anything as such. You just have to unmute and speak and add one line to the story. That's it, nothing else. So you can use the raise hand option to notify that you're interested, and I'm very sure that there is some learning that we'll learn from it. Meanwhile, I'm just quickly reading out Ayush's response. Good afternoon, sir. I'm Ayush. I'm from Delhi. I'm graduating BBA from GGSIPU. I've participated in competition in my school. In my free time, I try to explore new things. My strengths are dedication and punctuality. I love to do painting. Fair enough. Antara says, billionaire cannot be a billionaire in a day. Each step counts and would love to take my step by applying in your company. Wonderful. I'm Antara, currently in Trinity Institute of Professional Studies and in BA/LLB course. Team spirit is important in every field, and being a basketball player, I've enjoyed my team spirit. And talking about my communication skills, my course defines it all. Till now, I have not figured any weakness related to my course, but if there is, I would correct and not let it be in my weakness list. Okay, fair enough. Wonderful. Thanks for that. I think wonderful. Including a self-introduction adds a lot of value to your entire, introduction rather. Great. So anybody who would want to introduce anyone else who's yet to complete? I see Himanshi also posting the response, but I would love if somebody can unmute and introduce, or else we can move ahead. Okay, I think this calls for a pause. Silence is consent, so I'm sure that we've understood. I want 5 people, approximately 5 people, to be a part of the next exercise. So can you notify using the raise hand option so that I know that we have people? Thanks, Pragya. Kalyani, thank you. Okay, somehow, okay. Kalyani, Lakshmi, okay. Shreya. So more than 5 is also okay. I'm just restricting it to 5 because Vaishali, all right. All girls, no guys. Okay, we have 5 girls. Great, all girl power. Wonderful. So girls, you guys would have to listen to what I'm saying very carefully. And 1 minute, please. I'm just quickly sharing my screen. Okay, so we are doing a little exercise on story building. Okay, now the people who have raised their hands, only those people can pass on the story to each other. So I see 5 people. Okay, there were 5 people, right? All right, Shreya. Okay, wonderful. So and the rest of the students, please pay close attention. So I'll be saying one statement, and I'll be passing on to anyone who has raised their hand. They will add their another statement to the story and pass it on to the next person. Okay, you don't have to repeat the same line what I said. You just have to add one line to that story and pass it on to the next person. Okay, say for example, I say, once upon a time there was a lady walking in the park. And then probably I pass it on to Pragya. Pragya will add 1 or 2 sentences to that story, and probably she'll pass it on to the next person. Say Shreya. Shreya will add 1 or 2 statements and she'll pass it on to Vaishali. So in that way, we'll have to pass it on to each other. 1 minute, please. Okay, have you understood this activity? Pragya, Lakshmi, Kalyani, Vaishali, Shreya?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Wonderful. Wonderful. So the other students are going to be spectators, and let's start with the exercise. I'll start with the exercise first. Try to make it a little interesting, and the last person who remains will have to end the story. All right. Okay. So once upon a time, there was an old lady lying dead inside her bedroom. Okay. Once upon a time, there was an old lady lying dead in her bedroom. I'll pass it on to Pragya.
So her grandson came in a room and saw her grandma lying down. He started shouting and called the other members of the family. Let me pass it to Lakshmi.
Okay, Lakshmi, over to you.
The other members were very sad for her demise, and they were not coming in my mind anything. Sorry.
Okay, they were sad about the demise. Okay, fair enough. Whom do you want to pass it on to, Lakshmi?
Let's Shreya say.
Shreya. Okay, fair enough. Yes, Shreya, you can unmute and add your part. Sorry, I think Shreya is not available. Do you want to pass it on? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm here.
Yeah.
They took her to the hospital for the checkup. Is she
Okay.
dead or not?
Okay, fair enough.
Pass it to Vaishali.
Okay, Vaishali. Yes, Vaishali, do you want to unmute? Okay, so Vaishali has responded to me. She says the doctor said she's not dead, she's in coma. Okay, and the last person that Vaishali would want to pass it on will be Kalyani. So Kalyani, how do you want to close the story? Come on, bring an end to the story now.
I just need a minute.
Yeah, that's fine. You think about it.
Okay. So doctor said she's in a coma, and when this happened, the day before, there was a celebration in the house, and she was perfectly fine. And there was one member in a family, that is that grandmother's grandson's mother, who didn't come and check on her, and the family members found it suspicious that why didn't she come, and when everyone was panicking,
Okay.
there is no one left to pass it on.
No, you complete the story. You add one or two more statements and complete the story.
Okay, so when the doctors found out the reason, it was something in our food which led to this, and
Okay.
And the investigation was had to be set on. So they found out that there was an argument between that grandmother and her daughter-in-law.
Okay.
And they had a fight, and she was frustrated, and she mixed she poisoned her food, and she went into the coma, and she went to jail after that.
Wonderful. So Kalyani, you got an alternate profession now. You can probably choose this as a profession, right? Ending up stories. So there are two learnings that we pick up. One is definitely that Kalyani can be a good storyteller, so she has an alternate profession. But what are other things that we learn from this exercise? I see a few nice endings also in the chat box. But my quick question to all of you is, what is the learning that we picked up from this exercise? Is there something that we learned, or this is just for fun that we were doing? Come on, can somebody unmute and speak? Presence of mind, Rachna says. Himanshi says, we have to prepare some story when someone asks suddenly. Continue your progress where the others left in. Creativity or spontaneity. Okay, we can make instant story in any situation. We can be creative on the spot also. Okay, wonderful. Okay, but one learning, great observations. Lakshmi says, when someone unexpected comes, our mind gets stuck. We should make our mind much more sharp and spontaneous. vocabulary building, conceptualizing. Okay, that's too intense for me to understand. Okay, I'll just stick around the topic and tell you what we learned. So the best part of this particular exercise, what was, each one of us got an opportunity to listen, and each one of us got an opportunity to speak, isn't it? How often does that happen in listening process? If you observe this exercise, each one of them got an opportunity to be an active listener, and each one of them got an opportunity to be an active speaker. I started off and I passed it on to one person, and the other person passed it on to some other person, and we were actively listening what was happening, right? So when we talk about listening skills, one such thing that is very common and not taught to us in our schools and colleges, we have been taught reading, we have been taught writing, but there is no workshop on listening that we've had. There's no MBA in listening, right? So that's one reason why most of us, including me, we are poor listeners. Yeah, correct. Shreya says maybe we are all five are active listeners, good story makers. Yes, absolutely, I agree to this. So there are three thoughts that you see on the screen. Let me know which thought do you agree on to. So there are three thoughts. One says no one is as deaf as a person who will not listen. Most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. And one of the most sincere forms of respect is actually listening to what others has to say. Others have to say. Sorry, this activity could improve our listening skills. Yes, Pragya, good one. Vedic says he agrees to the second one. Okay, true. Is there a specific reason why we agree to a specific quote? Harshita also says she agrees with the second one. Most of us, we don't listen with the intent to understand. We listen for the intent to reply. Okay. So what we did in this specific exercise what was exactly what we see on the screen. The first half of our a process of when I started off, the rest of the five people were actively listening. They were observing my tone, my body language. They kept an open mind while listening. They collected all the facts and figures that were told to them, and they clearly understood my message. If they wouldn't have understood, they would have asked me a question, right? So the first part of listening process, everybody did very attentively, right? What about the second part? I think most of them did the second part also, I mean, nailed it, right? You all summarized what was spoken by the listener. You try to paraphrase in your own words, right? You showed empathy. Empathy will learn separately. Questioning skills, if at all you didn't understand anything, you tried questioning. I think most of you all didn't. So, and giving information and insights, and then you added your input. But the first thing that you choose to do is you listen patiently to what the other person is saying. And I think that is the listening cycle, right? Okay. Rachna says if the person didn't hear the person before them, then they might have regretted that. If they would have heard it properly, then they might have thought of something interesting much quicker and easily. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so if I have to ask you, what kind of listener are you? Good, bad, average, poor? What will you rate yourself? Are you a good listener? Are you an average listener? Are you a poor listener? What is it? What would you rate yourself? Average? Harshita says, I'm a good listener. Average, average, maybe a good listener. Okay. I see a lot of you all saying average, few of you all saying good listeners. Good to know that. And most of the times we find our best friends more convincing than our parents because they listen to us more attentively, right? So, okay, a lot of you all are saying good listener, which is good to know. All right. So a little average listener. Okay. A little exercise for all of us to do. Since most of you all said that you all are good, bad, average listener, I would want you to look at these 15 statements that you see on the screen. So divide these 15 statements into 4 columns: always, sometimes, or rarely. I mean, 3 columns, I'm sorry. Right. And try to find out how many always do you get, how many sometimes do you get, or kitne number aapko rarely ke liye milte hain. Read out all the statements. Ask yourself this question: do I do this always? Do I do this sometimes? Or do I do this rarely? Okay. And then you collate the number and put it in the chat box. Let's see how much number we are able to score. Okay, I'll give you 3 minutes, students. I'd want you to quickly go through this and post your numbers. कितने always आते हैं आपको? कितने sometimes आते हैं and कितने rarely आते हैं? Now, when you say always, always you don't have to change because you're already good at it. But sometimes or rarely, we'll have to figure out how we can work on it because those are the elements which are not making us good listeners. All right, so let's take 3 minutes, read out all the statements that you see on the screen and allocate, I mean, always, sometimes or rarely, and see how much number you're scoring. We'll display the number in later in the chat box. I mean, on the screen, I'm sorry. Vaishali has scored 8 always, which is great. All right, so I'm able to see a few responses here. Okay, so I'll ask Pragya this question. There are few statements that you've received sometimes, right? Do you think it's important for you to work on those statements? Okay, she's saying the 8th one she didn't understand. So listening noises is basically, you know, when somebody is talking to you and you'd want to know if the other person is listening, you use those noises. Okay, all right, yes. So when you use these noises, you know that the other person is listening to you, right? Otherwise, why would you speak? You're not speaking to plain walls, right? You're speaking to a person. And when you speak to that person, you want that person to acknowledge you in between. So those are called listening noises. How would you acknowledge the other person if you don't use listening noises? Like, for example, if I'm training for straight 2 hours and there's no response, absolutely no response from my students, what will happen? I don't know if they're listening, right? I don't know if they're listening. Okay, now Pragya says the 8th one is always for her. Wonderful. So great. I can see responses in the chat box. I don't want to individually read out responses, but yeah, if you have got always for 14 to 15 times, you're an excellent listener. So if you count the number of always that you have received, if it's 14 to 15, then you're an excellent listener. If you have got 11 to 13, then you're a good listener, but you could improve. If it's 7 to 10, you're a fair listener, and 4 to 6, you're a poor listener. And if you have got less than 4 in always, the question is, are you sure even you're listening? So if you go back and understand this, students, one is always jahan pe mila hai, you don't have to work at that specific arena. But yeah, sometimes or rarely, if you have, Shreya says, now I'm poor. Earlier I was a good listener. Now she feels she's a poor listener. Exactly. This is like an eye opener for most of us, right? Now, that's one reason why I asked this question to you at first. Are you a good listener, average, or poor? And most of you all said you're average or a good listener. But when you do this exercise, you actually realize whether you are good, bad, or average, right? Wonderful. Good to know that, Aditya. Aditya is a good listener. Great. Because listening is one of the most important communication chain, because most of us, if we speak fluently in English, we'll be able to crack interviews, we'll be able to influence people, but sometimes listening also does the job, right? When you go for a group discussion and when you are done speaking and when others are responding, your non-verbal nods as well as your listening noises can add a lot of effect to your group discussion. Remember that always. Great, good to know that. So there are 3 A's of active listening. I always would want to go back and highlight that. One is attitude, second is attention, and third is adapting. What is the attitude that you have towards the other person when you're listening, right? Are you attentive? Yeah. Do you have the attention towards the other person? Are you looking into the person's eye? And third is adapting. Now, understanding the other person's speaking style is also important. Not every person is going to speak the way I speak, or not every person is going to speak faster or slower. So adapting yourself in those situations also make you a good listener, right? So these are the 3 A's of active listening. Your attitude, your attention, and your adapting plays a very important role. And I think this exercise that we did made us realize what kind of listeners are we. And if you have received sometimes and always for a few of these points, please make a note of it and see how you can work on those, because those are the points that you need to work and improve. Do you have any questions or any thoughts to share? Let me know if you'd want to add anything. Sorry, I see Kalyani's hand raised. Kalyani, do you want to add something? Okay. Shreya is saying, how can I be a good listener? So Shreya, जिन जगहों पे आपको always या sometimes मिला है, I'm sorry, sometimes या rarely मिला है, you'll have to work on those points. That's how you can become a good listener. See, that's one reason why I don't want to give you generic tips. ये करो, वो करो, right? I want it to be specific. Like for example, these are 15 points. If in these 15 points, what is it that you want to improve? तो जहाँ जहाँ पे आपको sometimes or rarely मिला है, those are the points that you need to improve or work on. Right? Always to theek hai. When you do it always, that's a good thing, right? Because you're a good listener that way. So take a screenshot of this, most likely. Yes, Harshita, that's a good point. So rather than listening noises, what if we just nod our heads or do some kind of gesture which may show that we are listening attentively? I agree to this, Harshita, but when we are connected online to anybody, I mean, especially Skype or Zoom conversation, most of us does not choose to come on the camera. So if you're not on the camera and you nod your head, the other person wouldn't understand. But yeah, if you're on the camera and you just choose to nod, that's absolutely fine. But what I recommend is usually give those listening noises and sounds so that the other person also gets confident to continue speaking, right? That also, because the other person should also be confident. Okay, fair enough. So I think that's to this. So listening skills, I hope it's clear. And I'd like to quickly summarize by these aspects of listening. Always look interested, inquire, right? Ask questions, suspend judgment. Don't have any judgments about the other person when you're listening. Test your understanding. Like if the person has said ABC, do you interpret the same information as ABC? Right. Next is empathy. We will learn empathy tomorrow, or if we have time today, we'll learn today. And be neutral. Don't show any biasness. There are times where we have heard something about somebody, and when we listen to that person, we don't specially pay attention because we have this preconceived notions about people. So don't have that when you're listening. So that's to this. Any questions anybody has, please go ahead, and I'll be happy to answer in terms of listening skills. I'll take a pause for breath for 20 seconds before we move on to the next topic. Yeah, that's a nice one. Lakshmi says we should see things from his perspective as well before responding. Yeah, that's empathy for us to be able to put ourselves in the situation of the other person. Agreed. All right, so we'll move on to the next part. I'm sure we are aware of what SWOT analysis is. I'll just give you a context of what SWOT analysis is. So SWOT analysis is conducted, I mean, it initially started with companies. So major multinational companies started doing SWOT analysis with their products. Like for example, Hindustan Unilever Limited, you know for a fact that they have plenty of products in the market. For them to understand how their products are progressing in the market, they do a SWOT analysis, right? And we can do a SWOT analysis on an individual level as well for us to understand what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, and how can we work on our weaknesses, and how can we build up our strengths, right? So amongst that, I'm sure most of y'all will agree to the fact that the most common weakness that people express is public speaking, right? Number one fear that is recognized after death is speaking. Most of us born public, nobody has a and they say name is XYZ, and right. It takes time, it takes effort, and most importantly, a lot of confidence and clarity, right? So I want to present to you two case studies on the screen. We are going to look at these case studies, and I want you to tell me in this situation. If Shirish, so first case, I'd want you to read study and tell me what advice would you give if Shirish was your in the second one. And one more question. One, what to give Shirish? Have you been in this before? Okay. Somebody saying my voice is not audible. Can you all hear me clearly? Is my voice audible?
Sir, it's breaking.
Oh, it's breaking, is it? Is it fine now?
Yep.
It's fine now, right? Okay, fair. All right. So I'll just quickly repeat. There are two case studies that we'll be going through. One is Shirish and second is Varsha. What I want you to do is see if you're able to relate yourself to this story. Has this happened to you before? What is happening with Shirish? If not, what advice would you give Shirish in the situation that he is in? Take a minute to think. Okay, so let me any student who would like to. Yes, Robin, go ahead.
Okay. So, well, I have not been into the situation of Shirish because usually I take the initiative.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. So means usually I take the initiative if I am clear with some idea, or I wish to, I directly go to my teachers, to my friends, or to someone to whom the idea can be concerned. So if I have to suggest it to Shirish, then I would say that, just go for it. Why? Because nervousness will come to you. Even every public speaker you have seen over the period of time, even when I am onto the stage, I also get nervous, but that doesn't mean you don't take the initiative and set back yourself from the opportunities which can come up by just taking one initiative. So go ahead and address your nervousness, because this will give you the confidence to to do the things in the future. So, and it's just as you said, things like we learn things, we discover our strength in our difficult times. So that can help him out.
Wonderful. Robin is up for a TED talk today, I guess, right, Robin?
I may deliver one day.
Okay, wonderful. Lovely idea that, Robin. I really like the fact that you're not able. I mean, you have not been through that situation, but the kind of response that I had from you, I think I can totally relate to that. So yes, going for it, believing in yourself is a great place to be in. So yes, definitely. Vaishali says if Shirish is clear about his idea, he should be confident enough to answer any question. True. Building self-confidence is hard. That's what Antara says. But if a person succeeds in this, I'm sorry, I'm not kind of able to. Yeah, in this, nobody can push him down. He should get ready to answer the tough questions so that he can get over his fear. All right, fair enough. Right. Believe in your idea and knowledge. Yes, good one. Lakshmi says stop underestimating his idea and own self. Go for it. Okay. She's saying Shirish. I can actually hear Lakshmi shouting, go for it, Shirish, loudly. Good job. Wonderful. Any other observation anybody has? The question is, have you been to this through this situation where you were absolutely confident about the product or the knowledge of or the process knowledge, but you were not sure or not confident about the questions that will be asked to you and the response that you might give to those questions? So I'd want to also describe the second case study in front of you. Now, this case study, I'm very sure most of us will be able to relate. This happens to the best of us, I would say, and that's exactly what happened with Varsha. Let's try to find out what happened with Varsha. See if you're able to relate it to yourself, and what advice would you give Varsha in her situation. So let me quickly display that. Yeah, here. Take a minute, think about it, and then we'll start. Nidhi says, every time this happens with me. Okay. What do you do in that situation, Nidhi? Yes. Yes, Robin, go ahead.
Okay. So I feel that I have been into the shoes of Varsha in the very beginning phase of my public speaking when my teachers were preparing me. And I feel that was a very right platform to, to make mistakes and to learn from this. But there, what I learned from such situation is that, nervousness will be there. There used to be a time when I used to shiver on the stage when I'm speaking. But, it never let me, just stop me because I have had, means like I have worked hard for it and, I should go for it. So that's what I suggest to Varsha, that if nervousness is coming in between of your talking, if I am speaking and I can get nervous right away, but that doesn't mean I should prevent the information from the flowing, right? So let the nervousness come and go, and deliver your speech as good as possible for you.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Robin. Great. And I'm so happy that you were able to relate. And with that relatability, you brought in those points. Thanks for that. Wonderful. Great. Yeah. I mean, you guys are making my job easy. I'm so happy for that. All right. Great. So I see, take a deep breath, calm yourself down, trust my knowledge, and think nobody's perfect. Everyone has to start somewhere. That's a nice response. Everyone has to start somewhere. Varsha, don't be nervous. Just take a deep breath and speak. Give your best. All right. Yes, Himanshi is asking, is nervousness common? See, anxiety and nervousness is a very common feeling. Most of us, we try to treat it negatively. But understand one thing, anxiety and nervousness only happens when we try to do something new or different. Does that happen to you when you're talking to your friends or your family members? No, right? It happens to you when you're trying to do or you're trying to step outside of your comfort zone and trying to do something different. That's exactly what Varsha and Shirish were trying to do, right? So that anxiety, nervousness is a very common feeling, and treat that as a good sign. Congratulate yourself because you're going to do something that is outside of your comfort zone, which you have not done before. And as Barkha ma'am the other day rightly said, on the first day itself, she said, until unless you won't practice, it'll be difficult for you to, excel in that specific case. Same goes for Robin. Robin also says the same thing. He says, I practiced it multiple times. I gave a few sessions. I failed, and that's when I learned. I think that's a beautiful place to be in. Right? Failure is never negative. There's always learning opportunity associated with failure. So yes, it's a very common feeling. And one such advice, a bonus tip that I will give all the students is, there are always butterflies that you experience in your stomach when you're anxious or nervous, right? And these butterflies happens in two instances: once when we are hungry, and second when we are nervous, right? What I recommend you to do is, first of all, those butterflies are in all directions. They're spread across in different directions, right? Try to direct those butterflies in one single direction. Give them one single direction, right? Don't try to focus on how you're looking or whether people will laugh at you. Focus on your speech. That's when you're directing your butterflies onto one direction, right? So okay, Himanshi says, most of the people I saw are more confident when they speak. Things seems difficult because we haven't tried yet. Correct. Ayush says, okay, I'm just quickly reading out. Varsha should think that her training days, that if the day trainer doesn't come because of nervousness, so she wouldn't be a trainer today. Okay, that's being grateful. Okay, great one. Vivek says, more relatable in my case. Before presenting anything, I go blank. Anything blank due to anxiety and nervousness. In case of Varsha, she should focus on what she have to deliver, not on what will happen. Yeah, that's a nice one, Vivek. See, when you focus on one thing, which he rightly said, focus on what she has to deliver, you're directing those butterflies in one single direction, right? Instead of letting them loiter around in your body. Correct. So let me share with you a few tips that can definitely help you deal with anxiety, nervousness, and be more confident. A very practical way to deal with anxiety and nervousness. So much before the actual interview or the presentation was the caselet what we saw of Shirish, where he had few brilliant ideas, but he was afraid to speak in front of the audience or to his customer because he was nervous. What he can do is he can practice 3 P's. One is positive thinking and imagery. Know for a fact that he deserves to be in that place and give a try. Most of the times, if you observe an architect, whenever he's trying to build something, there's always a mental picture that's there in his mind, and that mental picture translates into a physical picture, right? So positive thinking and imagery is a phase where you think positive about the situation, know for a fact that you deserve to be there in that interview or in that presentation, and you have worked really hard for it. That's exactly most of you all responded, and I'm so happy we responded that, right? Next is plan and organize. I think a lot of effort goes in planning and organizing, and I'm not really sure, I cannot even tell you the amount of effort that people usually take for a 2 to 3 minutes Oscar speech. What we listen is just 2 to 3 minute speech, but the effort they take is endless, I mean sleepless nights, right? So plan and organize your presentation very well. Try to deliver it in front of an audience, right? Try to catch a few people and try to relate it, I mean try to deliver it to few people. And last is practice. I always prepare for my workshop. Now, 1 hour prior to my session, I'm sitting and I'm taking notes. I've never violated that principle, right? It's been about 5 years, more than, I mean, 5 years into soft skills and probably 3 years into behavioral training, right? I don't take my audience for granted and I say, I'll go on stage and I will see what happens, right? If I'm an audience in your workshop, if I'm your customer, if I'm your client, or if I'm anybody who's connected with you for work, I demand that you give your best, and that comes from preparation. So prepare yourself well. I think preparation is the key to success in an interview or anywhere for that matter, right? So that is with the Shirish caselet, the 3 Ps: positive thinking and imagery, planning and organizing, and practice. Let's look at a very closely relatable example that most of you all were able to relate just before or during the actual interview. So in this case, I'm using the word interview instead of presentation, but it's relatable, right? Whichever case we are in, we go blank. Now we can definitely practice the 6 Rs. One is respect yourself enough. Know for a fact that you deserve to be in that particular interview. Now questions will be asked to you, and also understand that you're not supposed to know everything. What usually we do is, we try to our self-esteem goes low when we try to undermine ourselves. So when we go for an interview or in the presentation, go with full confidence and know that you are the right person to give that particular presentation or crack that interview. So respecting yourself enough, respirate. Most of the times you'll observe that when you're anxious or nervous, respirate, breathe in and breathe out. I think that's one of the most common nuskas that we have heard from people. Usually our heartbeat goes fast and our muscles also become very tense. So try to concentrate on your breathing. Take a break for like 2 to 3 seconds, right? Concentrate on your breathing and then you move ahead. Next is relax, right? Of course, when I say your muscles become very intact, relax your muscles and relax your body, right? If in case you probably need a 20-30 seconds reminder to yourself to freshen up your mind, go ahead and do that. I think on the first day I shared a video with you guys, the 5-minute meditation. I think that should help, right? Next is release and reposition. Release and reposition basically means release all the stress and anxiety that you have, direct those butterflies that are flying in your stomach to one direction and reposition those butterflies in that direction, right? Don't try to focus on whether you're looking good or not, what will be the response when I'll continue this presentation, will people be happy with my presentation or not. When all of these thoughts go in your mind, those butterflies are spreading in your stomach everywhere. So give them one direction, right? Focus on one thing. And last is relate. I think what best we can do as people is relate ourselves to that particular situation, right? So relate yourself to that situation. Tell yourself that you deserve to be there and relate it with your audience or with your interviewer, right? So these are the 3 Ps and 6 Rs. Much before the actual interview, 3 Ps, and during or just before the actual interview, 6 Rs. And even if you go blank in between the interview, you communicate that to your audience, that communicate it to your interviewer that I've gone blank. Can you give me say 10 seconds to regather my thoughts? And that's absolutely fine. You're dealing with a human at the end of the day, right? The interviewer bhi kabhi interview bhi tha, right? That's exactly what I say always. So is this helpful, the 3 Ps and 6 Rs? Do you want to add something? Please go ahead. I'll take a 20 seconds pause for breath. Yes, Lakshmi, reposition basically means, say, for example, as I said, whenever you are anxious or nervous, what usually happens is we try to focus on multiple things at a time, and that builds in a lot of anxiety and nervousness. So reposition basically means reposition the butterflies that are flying in your stomach in different directions to one single direction. right? If you reposition them to your speech, they will only fly in one direction, that is speech, right? So remove all the thoughts that are in your mind in terms of, will my presentation go okay, will my customer be happy, will I do a good job, exclude all of that from your mind and focus on one thing. That should help. Okay. All right, so do we have any questions? Any questions related to this? Please go ahead and ask. I'll be more than happy. All of a sudden, everyone has become very silent. So I'm wondering.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, if it happens for first time or for the second time, like once or for twice, it is okay to practice the 4 P's in 6 hours, and we can deal with our nervousness. But what if it happens every time with a person? Like, if the person is going to do the same thing he has done in his past, but still he's getting nervous, then what to do?
Okay, good question, Pragya. That basically, now there are few elements why that can happen. One is, if you ask me, Gaurang, how many years of experience do you have? I'll say I have 8 years of experience. Does this happen to you every time you do a presentation? I'll say yes. Now, what I do in that situation is I always think that I'm the Gunda of the batch. That's exactly what goes in my mind every time I start my training. Why? Because when that goes in my mind, I know for a fact that I am here for a reason, and the reason is to help few people out and understand few concepts and make them interview ready. Now why I'm here is because of the experience that I share. So one thing that I held very much pride, I hold myself pride, is the fact that the knowledge that I possess. So one reason could be, Pragya, is knowledge, right? You remember yesterday when I gave an example to most of you, I said about my music teacher. So I was very sure that knowledge is the only thing that keeps you very confident. So most likely, if that happens to you at regular intervals, it could be a skill issue. So skill issue basically means there's some information that's missing from that specific presentation, or the presenter is not aware of certain concepts which he or she needs to be aware of. So that could be one of the reason why this happens every time. But when we upgrade our skill sets and knowledge base, I think that eventually fades away.
Thank you, sir, for explaining.
Yeah. Okay, Vivek is saying, so planning before an interview is a good thing, but according to me, we should not start preparing in our academic part just before. It only creates stress, anxiety, and nervousness. Vivek, yes, it does, but preparation initially is very important. Now, when you prepare yourself, it gets more easier for you to, connect with the other person, and you speak in a flow, right? And there is no, okay, one minute. Sagar, do you want to mute yourself? Because there's a lot of background noise from your end. Sagar Singh, I guess. Okay, just creating a lot of disturbance for me. Okay, so yes, you should go ahead and prepare yourself. The reason why is because, now again, I'm not saying if your interview is at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, you start revising. This is not a examination; it's an interview, right? You don't have to revise anything as such. All that you got to do is prepare yourself. And yes, I like this response by Vaishali. She says the best strategy is no strategy, right? But at the same time, you decide the flow in which you will be speaking. What are few points that you will include while speaking, and what are the possible questions that the interviewer might ask? If you're able to prepare yourself in that context, I think that's more than enough. Then you don't have to go in detail and prepare yourself other than that. So I think that should work. All right. Okay, Vedic has put in a nice response. He says, work more on confidence, less on words. Agree. Okay, any other thoughts anybody would want to add before I quickly summarize this whole piece for you? So now we are aware of how to deal with anxiety, how to deal with nervousness. Okay, Nidhi is asking what kind of questions we expect from interviewer side. We'll discuss that. I think this is not the time for us to discuss that, but I will definitely cover this, Nidhi, in my forthcoming. I think we have 2 more days left. That's today and tomorrow. That's tomorrow and day after. I think we should be able to cover questioning skills most likely tomorrow. Let's see. I've not planned this yet, but don't worry, we'll keep it sometime. Definitely, we are going to discuss the questions. So. All right, so we're going to move ahead to the last part of the training is that's mind mapping. Before I move on to mind mapping, let me ask students, are we aware of what mind mapping is? Have we tried our hands on to mind mapping? Anyone? Okay, Kanish says rough sketching of something in mind. Okay. Just 1 minute, please. I'm quickly displaying my screen for you. Preparing a strategy for particular task in our thoughts and how will it work? Yes, correct, Vedic. Making plan in your mind to do something. Fair enough. Just give me a minute. I'm displaying my screen. All right. So I just let me know if my screen is visible. Not sure. Can we quickly
Yes, sir,
confirm?
it is.
All right, fair enough. Thank you. So, mind mapping, first of all, let's understand what mind mapping is. Mind mapping is a tool that helps us build fluency in our communication. And most of the students express that they want to build confidence while speaking, correct? And usually, what happens when we go low in confidence is when we don't have thoughts or we kind of go blank when we are speaking, right? So, mind mapping can be used to talk about a problem, or mind mapping can also be used to speak in a proper flow with a lot of logic and sense. So I'm sure you guys know what a family tree looks like. We have learned that in our 8th, ninth, or 10th standard in our schools. Similarly, mind mapping is similar. Now, for example, in a group discussion, the time limit that's given to us is five minutes to prepare, and a topic is given to us. Now, in that 5 minutes, what students choose to do wrong is they try to list down sentences. So in 5 minutes, they list down 8 to 9 sentences, and usually someone else speaks their sentences, so they have nothing much to speak. So what mind mapping says is instead of listing down sentences, you list down words. फिर जब आपकी बारी आएगी बात करने की तब उसे आप sentences में convert करके आप बात कर सकते हो. That will help you to frame more sentences, and that will have you have your ideas in a proper flow as well. So mind mapping is basically you know how a map looks like, right? So for example, if you have to move from one place to another, there's no single route. There are multiple routes that can help you reach that destination. Similarly, let's pick up a topic, say can you all see my screen? Whatever I'm typing, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fair enough. So let us take the topic technology. Okay, so when we say technology, I'd want you to tell me any 4 random words that you can think of.
E-payment.
Sorry?
E-payment.
E-payment, yes, absolutely. Can you tell me 2 more words related to e-payment? You can probably quote examples also. Paytm.
Paytm, PhonePe.
Phone pay.
Sorry for that. Okay, kind of. All right. Phone Pay. Okay. Can you tell me more options that you can think of? Like, for example, technology. Somebody said e-payment, and for that,
Blockchain.
Sorry.
Blockchain.
Blockchain. Okay, give me a minute. I'll quickly start sharing my screen again. I'm somehow not able to complete this. All right. So the topic was technology. So I'll just make a note of it. Technology. Somebody spoke about e-payment. So I'll make a note of that. E-payment. Right. And when somebody spoke about e-payment, somebody said Paytm. And someone also spoke about blockchain. I'm not sure what that is, but
E-payment के साथ नीचे phone pay था. Another technology was blockchain.
phone pay. Okay, fair enough. Blockchain. Can you give an
Digital
example?
marketing.
Okay, digital marketing. 1 minute. Why is it saying to type comments? Okay, fair enough. Digital marketing. Okay. Would you want to also talk about more such points? Say, what else can you think of when you say technology?
User interface.
So, okay. All right. Tell me more. One more point. Computers. Okay, I'll just write.
Advancement and development.
Okay, I'll just put computers. Can you tell me 2 more points for computers? Any 2 points for computers?
Educational.
Networking and hardware.
Networking. So less than a minute, we were able to list down so many points. Correct. So now the whole idea is for all of us to frame sentences and speak. I can see responses coming in the chat box. Wonderful. So for example, if I have to speak on this topic, technology, how will I start? So technology has shown a lot of advancement in today's generation. One such mode of technology is e-payment. Now, when we talk about e-payment, Paytm and PhonePe are the most trending modes of payment in India. And another thing that technology can talk about is digital marketing. Right, since we are able to access Facebook, we are able to access social media is only because there are people out there who are promoting that specific brand through technology. Right. Another thing that I want to highlight are computers. I think computers are a blessing in disguise in technology for us. Right. When we talk about computers, computers can be used for educational purpose. That's how we are all connected through this particular training. And computers can also be used for networking and hardware. Right. The user interface, of course, is an important element of technology. Most of the technology today have become user friendly. Earlier we had options of I mean, the mobile phones had only limited options, but now we have touch interface mobile phones where you don't have to put in a lot of efforts. You just have to a very subtle touch to your phone, and then it scrolls, and the interface is very smooth. So that's all about technology. So what I just now did is the points you guys faced, I just tried to frame sentences out of those points. Right. Yeah, correct, Vedic. So when we talk about technology, see, this is how you can speak, guys. All that you got to do is list down the topic in the middle, right? And create some branches to those topics. And when you create those branches, you try to create more sub branches. ये तो मैंने example के तौर पे लिया. There are so many things that we can talk about in Paytm and PhonePe. Right, and there are so many things that we can talk about digital marketing, endless things that we can talk about. But the problem is we don't have to list down words. All that we got to do is list down sentences, and these are your points. And if I was able to frame sentences using these points, I'm very sure you guys will also be able to. All that you got to do is you just have to list down words and try to channel those words with more sub channels. Right, for e-payment के लिए मैंने Paytm और PhonePe बनाया. right? For this particular point, which is computers, we created two sublinks, which is educational and networking and hardware, right? So this is one way of doing mind mapping. So is this interesting for all of us to know, or was this helpful?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm sure we have definitely done mind mapping in our schools, but we exactly don't know the reason why we did this. So now you have understood the reason. It just helps you to structure your thoughts effectively, and it also helps you to give a flow and direction to your thought process, right? So that you don't go off the topic. Whenever this is a very basic topic that we have taken technology, I'm sure there are more difficult topics that might come in a group discussion. But all that I'm saying is, instead of wasting time in writing sentences, you might want to invest time in, listing down words. Correct? So this was one way of doing it. We can also do it in the form of a family tree. I'm sure we know what a family tree is. Correct, Vedic requires a lot of practice putting right thoughts at right place. And sometimes it's absolutely okay if you don't put the right thought in the right place. Why I'm saying this is because your connecting thoughts will be directly related to the main thought. That's the most beautiful part about mind mapping. Paytm, PhonePe is directly related to technology, and so is your networking hardware, and so is your educational. So आपका जो सबसे last branch होगा ना, that will also be related directly to the main topic, that is technology. इसलिए मैंने आपको पूछा कि random words दो मुझे, don't give me specific words, right? Give me random words, you gave me random words, and each and everything that you see here is directly related to the main topic, technology. Any thoughts? So do you want to give a try to this? See how it works for you. I would definitely urge you, if in case you have time, if in case we have time, we will work on it. There's one more tool that I want to share. This is my personal tool. Copyrights my name. I call it the PPF approach. I'll post that in the chat box. Past, present, and future. So whenever a topic is given to you in a group discussion, or anytime you want to talk on a specific topic, you can talk about the past of that topic, because every topic has a past. You can talk about the present, and you can talk about the future. So any topic that's given to you has a past, has a present, and will or may not have a future, right? So I'll give you, say, 2 minutes. Try to take the same topic, technology, divide this topic into past, present, and future, and post at least 1 point. So past ke liye 1 point, present ke liye 1 point, and future ke liye 1 point. You can do it that way, or you can pick up 1 point and relate it in past, present, future. Like, for example, televisions, right? How were the televisions in the past? I mean, of course, black and white, right? There were no colors. Now, how is the television in the present? We have 4K content, right? HD, which we can very visibly see it on the screen. Future, how do you want our future televisions to be? Of course, we would want more of, more of effects in terms of a television. See, I am technologically handicapped, so I'm just saying random things. If in case you are good in technology, please go ahead and highlight few points. How do you want the television to be in the future? But I hope you're able to understand the crux of what I'm trying to say. The whole crux is one way of doing, one way to crack your group discussion is through this mind map that you see on the screen. And if you feel this is not helping you out, you can use my technique, which I say PPF, past, present, future. Right? How was the technology in the past? How is the technology in the present? And how do you want it to be in the future? Okay. Himanshi says, in past, TV size was big. Yes, absolutely. It was big. Yes. See how we are able to regather thoughts? Okay. Future, auto sensor, 3D. Absolutely. Yes. Great. So try to build a mind map for yourself and see how it works for you. I've just given another example on the screen, a very simple example to show mind mapping. So if you're planning for your birthday, there are few words that you can list down, and you can create the channels that you see rightly on the screen. Those channels will definitely help you speak sentences in a proper flow. Say, for example, for my birthday party, I'm planning to invite my family, friends, and colleagues, and I would be having food, and the cake would be strawberry or chocolate, and probably we are planning to have a pyramid champagne, right? I would want to decorate my birthday with flags. So see how we are able to speak in flow. All that you got to do is just put in few bunch of words and try to link more thoughts associated with those words. Any questions? Or anything that you'd like to add, please go ahead. Okay. Radhika says nice birthday ideas. Might use some. Okay, fair enough. All right. So I think okay, I see one response here. I think someone has tried with the past present. I think Nidhi has tried. Wonderful. I'll read that, Nidhi. Thank you for that. I will read that. So let's do a quick start, stop, continue. I would want to know what is something that you'll start doing from the things that you learned today. What is something that you'll stop doing, and what is something that you'll continue to do? So take a minute, put your responses in the chat box, and that should be good. All right, I'm able to read few responses in the chat box. Yeah, Vedic says you said that right thoughts can be wrong while putting sometimes, but if they are wrong, they change the meaning of the sentence, right? So whatever the main topic is, if you are able to relate that particular thought to the main topic, nothing like that. So that's mind mapping for you. You're able to map it effectively. Okay, all right, wonderful. So great. Thank you. I think we are about to just at the end of the session. I can read few responses in the chat box with reference to start, stop, continue, and great to know that. I'll read out a few. Vivek says, start executing every task more productive. Practicing what I have learned. Okay, start being confident, stop not listening to people, and continue to positive thinking. That's what Ayush says. Wonderful. I think with this, we'll quickly bring an end to today's session. I'm sure there are a few bunch of things that you've learned and which you'll start implementing from today. I'll hand it over back to the speaker, so to the team, so you can take it up from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for making the session so interesting and interactive. It's a fun learning from you, sir.
Thanks, Pragya.
So guys, now the floor is open for question and answer round. So I request everyone to kindly drop your queries in the chat box. It would be great if you drop it for everyone rather than posting it in private, so I may read it for everyone. So meanwhile, any query comes, I have also a doubt. May I have the privilege to ask the first question, sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, as you said that we can make mind maps for remembering anything, like, so what if we forget that mind maps only?
What if we forget mind map as in?
As in we are framing the sentence to remember anything, right? What if I forget that sentence only?
You jump on to the next one. That's the beauty of mind mapping, right? So
it happens with me often. Like, I always forget many things.
That's absolutely okay, Pragya. That's one reason why we're doing mind mapping. One of it is the fact that we'll be able to remember. And second, if you're not able to remember, we can jump on to the next point. Now, you tell me, if you're in a group discussion, in 5 minutes, you are able to frame 8 to 9 sentences. And when you say you forget things, you might tend to forget those 8 sentences, or you might tend to forget at least 6 of them. But when it comes to mind mapping, in 10 minutes, you'll be able to frame 50 sentences. How many will you forget? 25? You have other 25 in front of you, right? That's the beauty of mind mapping. And if you're not able to correlate one single point, you jump on to the other point. All that you're doing is trying to build link and logic to that particular topic by adding more sub branches to that concept. So that's how it works. So if you are not able to remember one point, you can jump on to the next one. That's how you can go about it.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful explanation.
Yeah.
Okay, so I cannot see any questions in the chat box. So do you have?
No, I don't have any questions posted either. So no questions.
So now may I request Shikha ma'am to kindly give the formal vote of thanks.
A very good, just a moment. A very good evening to everyone present over here. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of CS and IT department, would like to thank our visionary chairman, Dr. R.K. Tandon sir, for always being a source of inspiration to us. I would also like to thank our dynamic director, Professor Dr. Barkha Behel, for her vision and guidance. On behalf of Trinity Institute of Professional Studies, I wish to take an opportunity to thank our eminent speaker for the day, Mr. Gaurang Satam. Thank you for connecting with us and guiding our students from professional perspective. I'm sure that many of their apprehensions must be clear by now through this insightful session. A big thanks to HOD, CS and IT department, Dr. Mukta Sharma, for her untiring support and guidance. I would like to acknowledge the efforts of all faculty members involved for making this event successful. A special thanks to Dr. Surbi Shankar, faculty in charge for this event. I would like to congratulate the lovely host for the day, Ms. Pragya, for her wonderful anchoring. I would also like to appreciate Aditya for his sincere efforts. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the faculty members and my dear students for participating in this enriching session. Over to you, Pragya.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to ask everyone to turn on their cameras for a group shot that will be cherished for a lifetime. Please let me know when we are done with the photograph.
We are done, Pragya, with the photo.
All are requested to kindly log in tomorrow again at 3 p.m. for another fruitful session. Thank you all. Have a good day. Stay indoors. Stay safe.
Thanks.
मेरी मैथ्स की बुक होती है मोटी हिंदी वाली तू अपने तरफ को किसी से पैदा कर रहा है कि उस तरह का ना पीछे